Hey there, Alex here. So I'm sure you guys have seen tons of video about the S10 series already, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with the phone. Instead, I'm going to focus on the things that I find interesting and why I decided to go with the S10e instead of the more premium models. First of all is size. A 5.8-inch screen might not sound that small, but because of the full-screen display and tiny bezels, the S10e is actually about the same size as the Pixel 2, which is pretty much a dream come true for me, to have a small phone with a big screen. The best part is, despite being smaller and cheaper, it doesn't really have any significant sacrifices over the S10 and S10 Plus. The screen is a little smaller and a little lower resolution, but it still looks really good. It has that camera cutout design as well, which I do think looks a little more pleasing overall. It doesn't have curved edges, which I actually consider to be a good thing. I've never really been a fan of curved edges because of how it reflects light and how hard it is to get a good screen protector for it. Also, with the new ultrasonic fingerprint sensor on the S10 and S10 Plus, it's even more troublesome these days. Let's just say I'm not a fan of dropping that much cash on a screen protector. With the S10e, I don't have to deal with those issues at all. It's a cool technology for sure, but ultimately, it does the same thing as a regular capacitive sensor, so I don't really mind the side-mounted sensor on the S10e. Specifications-wise, the S10e has the same high-end processor with plenty of storage and RAM, even for the base model. I have the Exynos version here in Singapore, and I have no complaints about the performance of the phone. It performs as well as you would expect most flagship phones to perform these days. And I'm just not that into nitpicking the minor differences when it comes to loading an app or a game. The only downside here is really just the smaller battery, which is inevitable because of its smaller size. I'm still getting pretty decent battery life on it, and I could get a day of use out of the phone pretty easily. But the way I use my phone is probably not quite the same as you. I don't bother with a lot of Samsung apps and services, and I don't even use a lot of the additional features that comes with the phone. So my battery life is probably a little better than what most people will be getting. Anyway, I want to talk about Samsung's new One UI for a bit. I don't often get to say this, but I think Samsung did a great job with its software refresh here. Little things like adding in an overscroll area so that things are easier to reach, the system-wide dark mode, the speed and responsiveness of the UI, and just the look and feel of the software. I still don't care for Bixby and the extra services that Samsung wants to shove down my throat, but most of them are optional, and they're easy enough to ignore. The only downside to me here is really just the speed of software updates, especially here in Singapore. I do think that they're doing a little bit better these days, but it's still not ideal just yet. Anyway, let's move on to the cameras. Instead of 3 cameras on the rear, a standard, wide-angle and telephoto, the S10e is missing the telephoto camera. To me, it's the right compromise to make here since the ultra-wide-angle camera is the more useful one to have around. Image quality itself is still really good as per Samsung's usual standard. It's one of the top few cameras around, but I don't think it's able to beat Google's computational photography just yet. Same goes for the front camera as well, which is good but not great. But Samsung does video recording really well though. On top of the usual video recording features, we got a new super steady video stabilization feature which works really well in good lighting. The front camera is able to capture 4K videos as well, which is a useful feature to have. So while Google wins out in photo quality, Samsung wins in terms of video. And that's about it. Other than the things that I've talked about, the S10e has most of the features from the Galaxy S10. It still has the same premium metal and glass design, IP68 water and dust resistance. It has a pair of stereo speakers which sounds really good, a headphone jack, a micro SD card slot, wireless charging, and even the new reverse wireless charging feature. We are getting all these features in a phone that is more compact and more affordable. I also really like that Samsung is including a case as well as a pre-installed screen protector out of the box. To me, the S10e might not be the most flashy looking out of the lot, but it is the most worth it in my opinion. Thanks for watching this quick video about the S10e. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content in the future. Thanks again, and see you guys on the next one.